The moment the hand came out of the car window, I knew the girl I'd been texting wasn't inside that vehicle. And if I had leaned even a little closer, I probably wouldn't be telling this story. This happened a few years ago when I was living in a small town outside Dayton, Ohio. Like most people my age, I used Instagram casually, a few hundred followers, mostly people from around my town. One night while I was watching a movie, my phone buzzed. A girl named Holly had followed me. Her profile looked normal. Attractive blonde, a few thousand followers, dozens of photos posted over time. Nothing about it seemed fake. Then something strange happened. Before I even followed her back, she messaged me. "Hey, I don't usually do this, but I think you're really cute." I followed her back and replied the same thing. We started talking and the conversation felt natural: music, fitness, school. Within an hour, she gave me her number. By the end of the night, we had plans to meet the next day, Friday night, at a bar called Lucky's Tavern about 15 minutes from my house. Friday came and I drove there early. I was sitting in the parking lot waiting for her to text me when my phone buzzed. "Hey, my car broke down. Can you come get me?" I tried calling. She didn't answer. A second later, she texted her location, a back road not far away. Before leaving, I checked her profile one more time. Still looked completely normal. So I texted back, "On my way." The farther I drove, the darker the roads became. Soon there were no streetlights at all, just trees lining both sides of the road. Then I saw it. A black Nissan Altima parked on the shoulder with the hood open, exactly what she described. I tried calling again. No signal. I parked across the road and walked toward the car. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. I tapped on the glass. Nothing. No voice, no movement, just silence. I walked around to the front where the hood was open. The engine looked untouched, no tools, no sign anyone had tried fixing it. Now I was getting annoyed. I texted her, "Where are you? I'm about to leave." As I stepped back toward the driver's door, something made me stop. The window was cracked open, just a little. I was certain it had been closed before. I leaned closer. "Holly," that's when I noticed it. A faint sound from inside the car. Slow breathing. Then suddenly, a hand shot out of the window. Large, hairy, a man's hand. The finger curled slowly, signaling for me to come closer. For a split second, I could smell something coming from inside the car. Stale, sweaty, like someone had been sitting there for a long time. My stomach dropped instantly. I backed away and said, "Get lost." Then I ran to my car. Before I even had the door fully shut, the other car's engine roared to life. I pulled onto the road and sped away. At the first intersection, I turned. Then another. Then another. That's when I saw it in the mirror, a car behind me. No headlights, just a dark shape closing the distance. I heard its engine rev louder as it gained on me. Gravel kicked up under my tires as I took another sharp turn. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely think. So I did the only thing I could think of. I turned my headlights off too. The road went completely black. For a moment, I could barely see anything except the faint glow of houses far away. I kept making random turns through neighborhoods until finally the car disappeared. When I got home, I checked Instagram. The account had already blocked me. Later, I learned the photos belonged to a real girl in another state. Someone had hacked her account. And judging by the messages other people received, I wasn't the only person who drove down that road expecting to meet her. But I might have been one of the few who never got close enough to that window. The moment my sister started whispering from inside her closet, I realized someone else was standing in her bedroom. And by the time we saw him, it was already too late to pretend everything was normal. This happened a few years ago when I was living in a quiet neighborhood outside Charlotte, North Carolina, with my younger sister, Carolyn. At the time, My Instagram account had a little over 1,000 followers. Nothing crazy, but my profile was public, which meant anyone could see my photos and comment on them. Most of the time it was harmless, but one person stood out. It started with a comment on a beach photo I posted. 3 flame emojis. Curious, I clicked his profile. The account belonged to a man who looked like he was at least in his mid-40s. He had only 3 pictures, all selfies, about 80 followers, and he followed over 200 people, including me. At first I ignored it, but then he started commenting on nearly every photo I posted, short messages. Beautiful, hot, you look amazing. The comments weren't threatening, just persistent. Then one day, instead of commenting, he sent me a message. Hey, I just wanted to say you're really beautiful, even though I'm like 30 years older than you, lol. I replied with a quick lol thanks. He immediately responded, I would kill to meet a girl like you. Something about that line made my stomach tighten. I didn't really continue the conversation after that, but I also didn't block him. Looking back, that was my mistake. A few days later, I posted a picture of my sister Carolyn and me standing outside our house. Within minutes, he commented, you and your sister are both adorable. That crossed the line. I deleted the comment and blocked him. At least, I thought that ended it. Later that evening, Carolyn and I were home alone. I was in the bathroom doing my nails when I noticed a car pull up outside our house. It stopped near the curb. Only the front of the car was visible through the bushes separating our yard from the neighbors. Then the headlights shut off. No one got out. That stood out to me because we live on a dead-end street. Cars don't normally just sit there. Still, I ignored it. Eventually, I left to meet friends. As I walked to my car, I glanced toward the vehicle, a dark Nissan Maxima. The windows were tinted so heavily I couldn't see anything inside. Something about it made me uneasy, but I drove off anyway. I went to a friend's house where a few people were hanging out. Not exactly a party, but there was definitely drinking. I stopped early since I knew I had to drive home. My house was only about 5 minutes away. When I turned onto my street later that night, my stomach dropped. The Maxima was still there. Same spot, same dark windows. I drove past slowly, trying to see inside. Nothing, just darkness behind the glass. I parked and walked toward the front door. The whole time I could feel my eyes drifting back to that car, like someone might suddenly open the door. Right as I reached the door, my keys slipped out of my hand and fell somewhere near the doormat. Normally, I wouldn't care. But suddenly the thought of bending down outside in the dark made my chest tighten. Instead, I rang the doorbell repeatedly, hoping Carolyn would answer quickly. She didn't, so I crouched down and found the keys on the mat. I unlocked the door and stepped inside quickly. Upstairs, the house was completely quiet. Too quiet. Carolyn was usually still awake at this hour. I walked up the stairs and down the hallway toward her room. Her bedroom door was wide open. The lights were off. At first I thought she had gone out. Then I heard something, a faint whisper. At first it sounded like wind. Then I realized it was my name, being whispered. The sound was coming from the closet. The door was cracked open just enough for me to see Carolyn's eyes staring out from inside. She was crying, her face pale with fear. I knelt beside the closet and whispered, "What's going on?" She didn't answer. She just pressed a finger to her lips, telling me to be quiet. I gently pulled her out of the closet and slowly pushed the door shut. When I turned back toward the room, I saw him. A man standing in the center of the bedroom, perfectly still. The faint hallway light revealed just enough to see his shape, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark jacket, and his head was slightly tilted, like he had been listening to us the entire time. For one frozen second, none of us moved. Then Carolyn screamed. We both ran, down the hallway, down the stairs. Behind us, we heard heavy footsteps explode into motion. He was chasing us. Right as we reached the front door, I heard something crash upstairs, like he had slammed into the wall while turning the corner. We burst outside and sprinted to my car. I locked the doors just as the man reached us. He yanked the handle violently. When it didn't open, he slammed his shoulder against the window, over and over. Carolyn was screaming beside me, and through the windshield lights, I finally saw his face clearly. It was the same man from Instagram. I slammed the car into reverse and sped out of the driveway, laying on the horn the entire time. The noise must have woken someone up because the man suddenly stopped. He ran to the Nissan Maxima parked down the street. For a moment, we thought he was going to chase us. Instead, he sped off in the opposite direction. We circled the neighborhood before finally going back home. Then we called our parents and the police. Officers later discovered how he got inside. He had placed a ladder against the house, climbed onto the porch awning, and forced open an upstairs window. I told them everything about the Instagram messages, but when I checked my blocked accounts, the profile was gone, deleted. And since I never memorized the username, the police had nothing to track. Whoever he was, he vanished. Since then, my Instagram has been private. I only accept requests from people I actually know. Because the scariest part of all of this is realizing that stranger didn't just find my profile. He found my house, and he was already inside it, waiting. The moment I heard that scraping sound on my bedroom window again, I realized whoever had been taking those photos might actually be outside watching me. And what I discovered that night still makes me sick to think about. This happened last year when I was living with my dad in a quiet suburb outside Phoenix, Arizona. For a few weeks before everything blew up, something strange had been happening late at night. Every once in a while, when I was lying in bed or sitting in my room with the light on, I would hear a faint sound against my window. Not really a knock, more like something lightly scraping the glass for just a second. At first, I assumed it was bugs hitting the window. That's pretty common where we live. But after hearing the same sound 2 or 3 nights a week, I started getting uneasy. So I mentioned it to my dad. He shrugged it off. Probably moths, he said. And honestly, that explanation seemed reasonable. For a few nights, the sound stopped. Then one afternoon, I got a text from someone I barely knew. A guy named Ethan who had been in one of my classes the year before. The message said, "Hey, this might sound weird, but I think you should see this." Below it was a link. When I opened it, it took me to an Instagram page. The username immediately made my stomach tight. JP Unofficial, those are my initials. But that wasn't even the worst part. The profile picture was me. When I opened the page, I saw dozens of photos. All of them were pictures of me, but none of them were photos I had posted. They were candid shots, pictures I had no idea were ever taken. Some were from the beach. Others were of me sitting in my car. Then the newer ones got worse. There were pictures taken in my backyard. And the most recent posts, they were taken from outside my bedroom window. Photos of me sitting on my bed doing homework. One of me texting. Another of me changing clothes. My hands started shaking as I scrolled. Then I noticed the comments. Not people calling it creepy, people encouraging it. Things like, "She's hot," or "Go for it." The captions were even worse. "She doesn't know how much I watch her. I like seeing her at night." My chest felt tight as I kept scrolling, and then I heard it again. That sound, the faint scrape against the glass. Every muscle in my body froze. Because in that moment, everything connected. The photos, the window, the noises. Whoever had taken those pictures might be outside right now. And that's when I saw it. Movement. A dark shape shifted past the edge of my window just for a second, like someone quickly stepping away from the glass. I completely lost it. I screamed louder than I ever have in my life. My dad rushed into my room. At first, he thought something had happened to me, but when I showed him the Instagram page, his expression changed instantly. Concern, shock, then pure anger. He ran outside and started yelling into the darkness, searching around the yard. The neighbors probably heard everything, but whoever had been there was gone. My dad came back inside and immediately called the police. I tried explaining everything: the photos, the Instagram account, the noises at my window. Investigators contacted Instagram to trace the account. By the time they responded, the profile had already been deleted. They were still able to recover some data though. The account activity came from an old iPod Touch connected to nearby Wi-Fi, but the device itself was never found. After that night, my dad decided we needed to move. We started looking for another house within the month. Since then, the noises at my window have stopped, but I keep my blinds closed all the time now, day and night, because sometimes when I'm lying in bed, I still think about those photos and the fact that somewhere out there, someone once stood outside my bedroom window, watching me and taking pictures. If this story gave you chills, subscribe to Recorded After Dark because the next story might be even worse.